Hey, and welcome to this episode of Talking Swords. I'm Matt Kopnak. And this episode, I want to talk about the week of Sabres hockey that we just went through, and kind of like an up and down roller coaster, just a little bit. There was a lot of bad hockey that was being played, and really, I wanted to make the video yesterday, and I was searching my house trying to find my wife's computer, and I couldn't find it. And actually, that was probably a good thing because I was probably too emotional to make a video, and I might have said some things that I really didn't think. Now, if you follow me on Twitter, you would know that I'm not the place that you go for hot takes. I'm more of a pragmatic person. So if I want everything that comes out of my account to be something that I've thought about and somewhere that people can go for some sensible opinions about the team. So if I did the video yesterday, odds are there probably wouldn't have been many sensible opinions because, as you know, probably being a fan, because if you're watching this, I'm assuming you are a fan, that you're allowed to be irrational sometimes because that's what it's like to be a fan. So, going into yesterday's game, we all kind of felt like, geez, like there's like no hope for what we're doing. And maybe with how they came back against the Bruins, that's just it doesn't mean anything. It's just something that happened throughout the course of a game, and odds are they're a bad team. I mean, that's certainly logical because of the lack of secondary scoring they have, a new system, some players who have prominent roles who may not fit into the new system. So there's a lot of things working against them. But yesterday's game was the first time since I think the opener that we saw Housley's vision of what the team should ultimately be, and that being a really active defense. And the key to that would be that when you're on the ice, you're playing as a five-man unit, and when the defense decides to activate offensively, they have support from their forwards behind them, and then you don't have odd man rushes like going crazy. So that's what happened yesterday, and also just the fact that finally they established a forecheck, which is just drives me crazy that they seemingly never have a forecheck. Now, I believe that you don't have to be talented to have a forecheck. You just have to work hard. Now, if you're not a talented hockey team and you have a forecheck, it might not lead to goals, but what it's going to do is it's going to make you a harder team to play against. And I feel that even though if you're bad and you don't have enough talent, you can always work hard throughout the game. And that's really what they did to the Bruins in the second half of the game. A lot of people are pointing to the third period and the overtime, but I felt that the tides turned probably in the middle of the second period, and from that moment on, the game was theirs. I mean, they completely dominated them, and I really, really liked Scandella's game. I think it was talked about a lot by many people on Twitter once the game concluded. But I think he's been pretty good for this whole stretch of the season so far. And when you think about it, he didn't have the benefit of any preseason games coming off surgery, so he didn't have any benefit of the preseason games, and I'm sure he didn't get as much time in practice for training camp either. So it's pretty impressive. I really hope he builds on it, and he did something that I harp on all the time, and that's hold on to the puck when you're at the blue line and look for a lane to shoot the puck. Now, when I hear, and Rob Ray is talking about this quite a bit on the telecast, where it's like Phil House is like, you got to get the puck to the net, got to get the puck to the net. Yes, but get the puck to the net with purpose. Don't just get it on your stick and fire it wherever. I think Ristolainen does this a lot. He gets it on his stick, he's at the blue line, and he just fires it, and odds are he's probably missing the net. Take a moment, see if you could find a lane, walk the line a little bit, and try to get the shot through, because you're going to get rewarded by that, and Scandella and the team did, because Jack was right there at the doorstep for a tap-in. Now, the way the NHL is now, it's not like the 80s and in the early 90s. Brett Hall is not screaming down the wing and firing a slap shot from the face-off circle and beating a goalie. It's very difficult to beat a goalie now. There's some players who can do it, and thankfully we have one of those players in Jack Eichel who can beat a goalie clean, on a shot. But right now the game is about, get your point shots through and work hard in front of the net, and you might get rewarded by that, and they did. And hopefully, they harp on that more than, just shoot the puck. No, shoot the puck with purpose. So I was super happy to see how Scandella did that, and I was really excited about his game because from that point on, he was just really engaged and really up in the play. I thought McCabe had a really, really strong finish to the game. He was up in the play. So hopefully they can carry that through to the Detroit game because I think this is a big week. You're not going to fix everything right now. There's going to be stages to how you can fix the season, how you can salvage this. The first step would be stop the bleeding. They can stop the bleeding if they win 2 out of the next 3 games. I believe they play Detroit, then Columbus, and then maybe San Jose. Let me check. Yes. So that's the teams that they play. So if you win 2 out of the 3 there, one being the Detroit game, which is a division game, well, okay, you stop the bleeding there. Then from there, try to hover around 500, get to 500, and then build on from there. So this is a really a big week, and it'll tell me a little bit more about the team and whether or not they can build on positives. That's something that good teams do. Momentum is talked about whether or not that's real or not, but positive mindset, I think that is real. Feeling good about yourself while you're playing is real. I don't know if you want to call that momentum, but I'm sure it's probably easier to play a hockey game if you're feeling good about yourself and you're feeling confident is the word I'm looking for. So that's kind of how I felt about the actual games on the ice. Then I want to talk a little bit about what people were talking about in terms of roster moves and stuff like that moving forward, because after the Vancouver game, I mean, everything was nuts. People were talking about who do we trade, fire sale, are we going to tank again, all that, and that's probably not smart. I mean, that's like just pure emotion. What we really should be talking about, though, in my opinion, is Kyle Poso, because his deal was never smart to begin with to sign him to that, and it goes against my philosophies on how you should approach free agency. In my opinion, free agency is for a couple things. So one, definitely not being what they did with Oposo, which is signing just the best player of that free agent class. Oftentimes, if you do that, you're going to have to overpay, which the Sabres, to their credit, did not do. I think they got fair market value in terms of AAV for Kyle Oposo at $6 million. I mean, I was completely fine with that, but the term is what's going to kill you. A term of 7 years is quite the commitment. So, and that's for a player who is going to depreciate at some point, and we might be seeing it a little bit now. When this team is good, because crazy to think of it, I'm hoping that that's going to happen at some point, that the team is going to be good. I don't know how great of a player Kyle Oposo is going to be, and I'm going to be giving him $6 million. Now, the big trouble with Kyle Oposo is right now, this year, he has a no movement clause. And a no move means you can't even send him down to Rochester. I mean, he's got all the control. But next year opens up a modified no trade for the rest of his contract. Now, that makes it a little bit more difficult to trade him, but it's something that they should consider doing in the summer, regardless of how this season goes. In fact, I'm going to be rooting for Kyle Oposo to have a tremendous season and have him score tons of goals, because I really want to get rid of him. And the reason I want to get rid of him because I don't like the money. The $6 million, I think, is going to turn into how we feel about Matt Molson, which is we're paying a player who doesn't score anymore because he's lost whatever foot speed he did have, and he never was a prolific scorer to begin with. Now, I realize Molson, actually, now that I'm thinking about it, Molson and Oposo are very similar because they probably benefited quite a bit by playing with John Tavares. So, but also, by getting rid of Oposo, that might open me up to the idea of keeping Evander Kane around, because I'll have a spare $6 million laying around that I could slide over to him. And maybe I can get Evander Kane on a nice deal with an average annual value of maybe like 6.5. So, and that still leaves me $5 million like in the bank, just chilling there waiting for players that we have to sign once they come off their entry-level contracts. Evander Kane's a bit of a difficult subject for me, because I'm well aware of the fact of how he's producing. He's producing great, but there's a lot to him that makes me want to get rid of him, and I say that quite a bit, that I really want to trade him. Especially when you consider that Oposo is probably unmovable, even with what I just said. He's probably unmovable, but Kane isn't unmovable. And if you re-sign Kane, you are really locking in a core group of players that you really got to hope are going to be successful. It's not going to leave you any wiggle room at all. The reason I don't really like Kane is I'm super scared about him having something else happen off ice, especially once I give him money and the security of a contract. I'm also worried about the fact that him on the ice sometimes just drives me crazy because I think he's a difficult player to play with. I think he shoots the puck often in situations when he shouldn't shoot the puck, stupid penalties. I realize he plays hard, and I really appreciate that about his game because night in and night out, you're going to get a high level effort from him. But, locking him up, and then you have Jack. Jack's fine, but I'm going to put him into this. So you have Jack, you have Oposo, you have Kane, and you have Ryan O'Reilly. You have that group of players. You got to hope that group's good enough to take you where you want to go because you're married to those players now. And I think if you move out Kane, that gives you some cap relief, and hopefully in a return there you can either get draft picks or prospects, which is not anything that anybody really wants to hear right now, considering how poorly we did with draft picks and prospects under Tim Murray. But I really do firmly believe that the way that we're going to be better is by being a better drafting team and develop our players better. Another player I really want to talk about is Justin Bailey because he's playing really, really well right now. And go figure, it's now that he's playing with good players. When we brought him back up, I had tweeted and I said, somebody has to sit Justin Bailey down and tell him, okay, you're an NHL player now. Don't worry. We're not going to send you back down to Rochester. You've played close to 2 full seasons in Rochester. You paid your dues. You're a Buffalo Sabre now. Come here, play your game, which is play with speed, forecheck hard, and use your shot, which is actually a pretty good shot when you have the opportunity to. I really felt in the Bruins game when he was coming down the slot, I think Jack was the one who set him up, that he really should have shot it rather than trying to get the puck across to Kane. But just use your shot and just play. And I think that's going to benefit him greatly. And I think maybe as the season progresses, we might see the same approach with Nick Baptiste. Just come up here and just play hockey. Because odds are the bottom 6 is going to be bad. And if you're taking somebody's spot, right now, I don't really know whose spot he's taking, but anybody in the bottom 6, if you're taking Seth Griffith's spot, I really don't care. It's probably, if you don't score, well, he's not scoring either. So whatever. At least you were a player that we, at some point, thought of highly and thought that you might have a future here in the NHL. And give them the opportunity to play. I know people say that you have to earn it, but sometimes it's not as simple as that. Like a player playing really well in the AHL. Okay, then you get the promotion. Okay, now you got to be in the bottom 6. Now you got to play really well. Okay, now you can play with good players. No, it sometimes doesn't work like that. The game is really fluid on the ice and off the ice in terms of how you manipulate your roster. So that's how I feel about Justin Bailey. And that's really what I really wanted to come and talk about in this video. I just wanted to say that I'm going to try my best to continue with my January approach and how I'm going to evaluate this team and hold out to that point. Now, game by game, it's difficult. Like if a game like Vancouver, which is something that you want to pull your hair out, and the beginning portion of the Bruins game, you get to that point as a fan where you're just like, oh, I just hope that they just get embarrassed here. So that will happen, and I'm going to have to, do my best to hold that in and just be a voice of reason. So thank you very much for watching this video. I really appreciate that. If you want to give me a follow on Twitter, my Twitter account is @MattKopnak. That's @MattKopnak. And thanks again for watching this video.